The Batman is the latest film from director Matt Reeves in this 2022 newest adaptation of the legendary Dark Knight himself. And in the starring role of Batman stars Robert Pattinson. In this new movie, it's also starring Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Rush, Paul Dano, and a bunch, Colin Farrell, and a bunch of these other actors, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. And basically, the film just kind of grows from there, and within the story of how the Riddler keeps sending these messages and how he keeps killing these people. And, well, I don't think I'm giving anything too much away by saying he's killing off these corrupt people within Gotham to send to the police. Batman helps him investigate and build the story from there. And Catwoman gets involved, and the Penguin is in here, and it just kind of grows in here. Interesting, excuse me. And I'll be honest, and in just one word, I was truly silenced by this film. I was floored by this movie. I really found myself loving the living hell out of this movie. Like, I found myself to be that iconic moment within the first trailer where he's like, he presses the person down and says, "I'm vengeance." Like, I think we all remember where we were when we first saw that trailer. I remember when it was first seen that trailer back in 2020. Oh my god, that feels like so long ago. And, I was just floored, jaw wide open, and I was like, wow. Now, The Batman is not a perfect movie, but it is a perfect Batman movie. It understands how to bring the story and how to really gets a great understanding about what's going on, and how it feels like his character is always 2 to 3 steps ahead in front of everyone within the story and the narrative, and yet why the police are having such tension with the villain as well as Batman, but understanding how the story connects with other characters, and it's very, very smart. It seems convoluted, but the movie does it in such a flowing and interesting array of mixing the storylines that it really makes it feel like it's analogizing to this great ending, to this big revolution, but without going too much into spoilers, which I will certainly make a video on, I guarantee you that. And, the movie basically takes a lot of adaptations from the comics, such as Batman Hush and Year One, and a bunch of other great comic books, from other comic book adaptations, and even the animated movies, for example. And what it does so well is understanding the inner rage, the inner passion and the fear and the anger that builds towards it. Batman himself is earlier in his career, within his only just 2 years within his career as Batman, and I love how he's had such anger and intensity, but it's very focused and driven. And though you do see it consume him in a way, you do see that consuming mindset and how he just goes after someone. You see that intensity, you see that focus, and the movie rides it like a spear and knows how to drive it into the fear and the heart of the enemy, so that you see the power and intimidation from Robert Pattinson as Batman, as well as the Riddler. Because every time they were both on the screen, I got great different reactions from both. From Batman, it was both. It was less of my second favorite DC character was number 1, Superman, because I'm Superboy. Superman, get it hard. But it was less of that. It was more of, oh Christ, you're one of the, you're one of the criminals, and you're like, oh crap, there's a logo, and you hear the boots come in, and you're just like, oh crap. This is the Michael Myers of Batman. You hear the sound coming, and you just go, he's an unstoppable force. You shoot him in the chest, and he just keeps going along. And with Paul Dano as the Riddler, again, I'm not going to go too far into his actual performance, because for the most part, you'll just see him within the costume and that breathing and the voice modulator, and the way he interacts with, like, using technology and everything. Every scene he was in, like, I really felt like I could not breathe. He was terrifying. he had such a presence to him, and every time you were thinking about it, I could not move. It felt like it was taking such clever tones and approaches from like David Fincher films, like such as Seven and Zodiac, to such a T without it being too clearly on the nose. Even though he does these hieroglyphs, I forgot the hell they're called, these cryptic messages and everything for them to find out. It's like, what does a dead man do when he dies? He lies still. This is that and other lines, and of course the rest of the cast is great. Robert Pattinson, I think everyone was saying, oh, that Twilight kid or dude needs to shut the hell up. I thought it was a little weird for me to see him as Bruce Wayne at times because he was so quiet and he was so reserved and aloof, but I grew to love that over the film. As I said, for me at least, it was a little weird getting to that at first. But once the movie really found its tempo and groove, it really knew how to take me in deeper. And of course, his relationship with Alfred, as I'm played by Andy Serkis, who I basically loved him in everything he's done. I thought they had good chemistry. I do think Alfred was a bit underused at times, but I tended to realize this was not going to be his story. But he has a great connection, and how their connection and rivalry and their interactions felt meaningful and important and driven. And I really like that aspect. Also, Robert Pattinson's interactions with Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, Sansa, and Selina was really good, and I thought they were excellent together. They had a great in my view, they had less of that will they won't they feel, and more of that yin and yang feel of them being pushing and pulling. Catwoman being more towards the aggression, and then Batman ultimately within the story being like, I can't follow your path. I'm going to be no better than the criminals, and that truth, and how he defines himself through his arc and her arc as well, but how they come across within each other, and how they're all really well defined. Also, I loved Jeffrey Rush as Gordon. I thought he was excellent. It's a little hard for me to get over Gary Oldman because he is so terrific within the Nolan films, but I felt like Jeffrey Wright had just enough push, and, as I said with Catwoman, that push and pull and the yin and yang aspect to them. That great line by the beginning of saying, "Oh, what is this? Good cop, batshit cop?" That had me rolling laughing. John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I don't know why it just came to me like that, but I thought he was really good. He was one of those performances in the movie where I was like, oh yeah, I forgot you're in the film. I forgot you were in the film, and to me, and I thought he was really good. The one true, I wouldn't say, I don't know if frame it properly, but the performances that really impressed me the most was Colin Farrell as a Penguin. He was stealing in every moment. In every scene he was in, I was less of like, oh, it's that dude from In Bruges. But no, I was more of, that's a scary ass penguin, dude. And every scene he was in, I was just like floored. I was laughing. I was shocked and how unsettled and how don't give a shit he is and how insane he was. A rat with wings is what. And granted, I figured that out before the characters did in the movie, but I really loved all those enigmas and everything, and the dialogue and how it kind of pulled through the film. I thought the script and the writing was very good. I do think by the last 30 minutes, it kind of overplays his hands, and I get it from a narrative standpoint, but I do think from a pacing perspective, it feels a little overdone, and I would have tightened up I wouldn't have cut out anything, but I would have tightened certain parts in the movie. I would have at least tried to trim off 15 to 20 minutes of this film if I tried, in my own view. Like, that's my own real problem with the movie. is that it does feel a little, kind of pacing-wise and lengthwise, it tries to bite off more than it could chew. But by the end, I was so wrapped up into the story, and I loved the performances and the action, and that a part of me was like, screw it, I couldn't care less. Also, some of the dialogue at times, though delivered well, still felt like exposition at times. It was done well, but it still felt like, at least in my view, it still felt like exposition, especially in the first. It was like from like 20 minutes on to 45 minutes on. Some of the dialogue felt a little weird at times, but it was just, it knew that Matt Reeves was establishing his own unique, vibrant, and grim Batman. And this isn't just a detective Batman. It's more of Batman, and no other film before has done Batman justice as a detective, aside from certain moments in The Dark Knight. It was never done as well before until this film. Batman was always a detective, but we never really saw that done well. And this movie, he's done to a T, with him truly being on the field, with him being, like, the movie's like 85% Batman, 15% Bruce Wayne. And this is good, because I thought he was a good Bruce Wayne, for the most part. I thought he was really good, and an excellent Batman. He's my favorite Batman. If I was to say, it's hard to separate Batman from Bruce Wayne, because you kind of cannot tell him in such a way, but Robert Pattinson is my favorite Batman, but Robert Pattinson and Christian Bale are even as my favorite Bruce Waynes, and that's the best way for me to describe it. The score. I've been listening to the musical score for this movie for the last 3 weeks, and I can't get over how good Michael Giacchino has made of a score. I think this is his best superhero score since The Incredibles back in 2004. It's beautiful, it's grim, it's brooding, and yet it's uplifting at the same time, and it knows how to really bring in such a beautiful tone and aspect, and the tone and the understanding and the motifs of these characters make the film what it is, and it has such a tight and clever and devious approach to the character of Batman that I'll never forget. And frankly, as I said in the beginning of this video, it's not a perfect movie, but it's a perfect Batman movie. And the Batman, for me, stands as one of the best, at least in my opinion, one of the best, and probably one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. And though I do need to give it a little bit, and though I definitely want to say it again, gain a more of opinion later on in the future, as of right now, it stands firm within my top 5 comic book movies of all time. It's excellent. Is it as good? Is it as good as The Dark Knight? I do not know, but it's certainly within the same tier, and that's what I'm going to overall say. So yeah, the Batman is damn near excellent in my opinion. I do have some pacing issues. The dialogue is a little weird at times, but overall, I thought the Batman was great as hell. And I'm going to give the Batman a 9.5 out of 10. A damn near masterpiece. Cheers.